Does Newt Scamander have a secret daughter who's been hiding in plain sight this whole time?
Might be.
Look for it.
Hey, brother. Question. Who are Newt Scamander's children? Not something I thought I'd ever care about. Because I gotta tell you, way back in Philosopher's Stone when Harry first bought Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, I never thought we'd get to know the author as well as we did. And yet, one Newton Artemis Fido Scamander has beaten the odds and gotten his own unfinished pentology? That's the 5 of a trilogy, right? In fact, it is. I paid the anthology budget, but that's not the point. The point is, we actually know a ton about Newt now and his contributions to the downfall of Grindelwald. And by that, I of course mean this physical downfall at the edge of the structure and not his eventual downfall in 1945, because, the series got sold. But we do know his wife, Tina, his best friend, Jacob, his suitcase, Brown, what house he was in, Hufflepuff, his brother, the Hunk, even what he does in retirement. But what we don't know is where on earth he was during the entire war versus Voldemort. And don't say he was at Hogwarts in prisoner. I know, I saw it too on the map there. It's mighty fun, but it's an Easter egg. That's all. That's where we leave it. But otherwise, for such a powerful and knowledgeable man who helped Dumbledore take down one super evil wizard, you'd think he'd be on call to do it again. Even if he didn't want to, because frankly, I'm not sure he even wanted to help the first time around. I mean, I guess you could argue he was born in 1897, so, by the time Harry even starts school, he'd be in his 90s, which maybe cuts him some slack, but also, he did help recruit a much older man in the war against Grindelwald.
But I'm an alchemist and therefore immortal.
Don't look a day over 300. Plus, Dumbledore himself is in Hold On to Your Butts, Harry, Ron, and Hermione. 150 or something? Everyone laughed. I know, I'm convinced Rupert Grint made this joke off camera and everyone died laughing. Then they asked him to do it again and the magic was just gone. Which is ironic because it's a joke about wizards, so you think there'd be lots of magic, but that joke didn't have any magic either, sorry. The thing is, though, we know he and Tina had at least one son because we also know Luna goes on to marry one of his grandchildren, Rolf Scamander. But who was the son? We have no idea. Could it be somebody we know, and could they have had any siblings? Well, I don't know about Luna's father-in-law, but I think we have 100% zeroed in on at least one of Newt's other children, and you will never believe who she is. Hey, brother! So, you thought you could hide your daughter from us, didn't you, Newt? Didn't think we'd piece it all together, did you? Well, too bad for you. We have a hyper-analytical podcast digging through every sentence of Harry Potter, and we have found her.
But what I do have are a very particular set of skills. Skills I've acquired over a very long career.
Sorry, that really sounded kind of threatening. I'm pretty excited about it, honestly.
Hi, buddy.
But in order for you to fully appreciate it, we need to get to know Newt a little bit. So let's review what we already know about the Scamander family. We know that sometime after the events in Secrets of Dumbledore, Newt will finally marry Tina.
After years and years of asking and asking and asking, I finally said yes.
And honestly, I would take an entire rom-com of just those two dating. Even if it's not Newt and Tina, just get Eddie Redmayne and Catherine Waterston. Their on-screen chemistry is so good. I mean, they finish each other's
Salamanders.
That's what I was gonna say.
The best 60 seconds of Secrets of Dumbledore is the 60 seconds at the very end where Tina finally shows up and they have one conversation. I dare you to argue with me about it. But getting back on track, we also know that while it's a popular theory that maybe Newt and Tina retired in America where she's from, which would account for their non-involvement in the Voldemort Wars, they actually retire in Dorset, according to Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, where they do not live alone, but instead live with their 3 Kneazles, Hoppy, Millie, and Mauler.
This is Dream Crusher. He protects me from having unrealistic goals.
And as we mentioned earlier, our very own Luna Lovegood goes on to marry Newt's grandson, Rolf Scamander, who she then has 2 sons with herself, Lorcan and Lycan. which if you ask me, those names are dead giveaways that Luna has a malediction and is slowly going to become a wolf. But full video by clicking the card. Please go. That's one of my favorite theories that I'm positive is true. But what is weirdly missing from our picture of Newt's life is his own children. Like, we know he has at least one child, and we assume it's a son because Rolf's last name is still Scamander. But that is all we really have to go off of until now, where we have connected some dots that seem to fit together way nicer than you'd think. And so I'm excited to finally reveal Newt's secret daughter, Harry Potter's batty old neighbor, Mrs. Figg. Yeah, stick with me. This is fun. Whilst introduced as just some crazy cat lady on Privet Drive, it turns out Mrs. Arabella Doreen Figg is a squib and a member of the secret society of the Order of the Phoenix. That was a lot of ups. And it's not just in the Second Wizarding War either. She is also one of the few former members of the original society who Dumbledore immediately sends Sirius to contact upon Voldemort's return at the end of Goblet of Fire. Sirius, I need you to set off at once. You are to alert Remus Lupin, Arabella Figg, Mundungus Fletcher, the old crowd. So, a two-time Order member who, by all accounts, has been on duty even between the wars, just keeping an extra watchful eye on Harry as he is raised by the Dursleys. Then, when Harry has his hearing at the Ministry, we find out that the Ministry doesn't even know she's a squib, or that anyone from the Wizarding world lives anywhere near Harry, which is likely why Dumbledore stationed her in particular. Oh, I'm a resident of Little Whinging, close to where Harry Potter lives. We have no record of any witch or wizard living in Little Whinging other than Harry Potter. Because think about it, like, you never really question the idea that a batty old neighbor would exist in suburban life. But when you really think about the other denizens of number 4 Privet Drive, Mrs. Figg's location there seems not but accident. Because everyone else there are people with like fancy new cars and aggressively maintained lawns and hyper fixation on the homogenous lifestyle. Meanwhile, Mrs. Figg has cats, and like a bunch of them, and I am positive the other residents of Privet Drive do not think very highly of her. I mean, case in point, the Dursleys send Harry to visit her sometimes. And they hate the boy.
Right you are, Harry.
Probably the only silver lining from their point of view is that Mrs. Figg serves as some form of cruel treatment towards Harry. But y'all, we need to take a brief pause right there to give a huge thank you to today's sponsor, BetterHelp. Because you guys know that we here at SCB talk a lot about mental health and therapy and the good it can do for the world. And Ben and I have both attended countless sessions ourselves, and lessening the stigma associated with seeking out help is something that we truly value. But assuming you're watching this video the day it came out, October 10th, it is World Mental Health Day, and this year we want to direct our gratitude towards the wonderful therapists of the world. Because therapy can make such a huge difference in our lives, and obviously what happens in those sessions is, as it should be, private. But this means our therapists often go underappreciated for their commitment to improving the mental landscape of the world we live in. And if you would like to hone in on some of these heroes yourself, BetterHelp therapists work according to a strict code of conduct and are fully licensed in the US. And the other really cool thing that I love is that BetterHelp has a therapist match commitment. They want to ensure that you have found the right fit for your goals. So if you aren't happy with your provider, you can switch to a different therapist anytime. This World Mental Health Day, we are celebrating the therapists who've helped millions of people take a step forward. If you are ready to find the right therapist for you, BetterHelp can help you start that journey. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/super. That's betterhelp.com/super. Link is in the description down below. All that to say, her position as a squib and lack of registration is likely the exact reason she has the specific post. Like, I wouldn't even be surprised if Dumbledore paid for her home so she could be there. Not that she doesn't have her own occupation though, because actually I misspoke earlier. I bet some of you have already left comments about it, because I said she has cats, but that's not entirely true. Mrs. Figg has and breeds half Kneazles. That's like half regular cat, half Kneazles. Kneazles being like super hyper intelligent cat creatures in the wizarding world, and the half variety she breeds are like more domesticated versions of them that witches and wizards can then keep as pets. And it's actually exactly what Crookshanks the cat is, and why he's so able to easily spot Sirius and Peter in their animal forms. And at this point, you might be able to start connecting the same dots we did, because what kind of animal did Newt and Tina live with? Kneazles! And it's not a very far reach to think they gave their daughter Arabella one as well, from which she started her breeding. Mrs. Figg would also fit the approximate age range we're going for here, not that we know her exact age or anything, but assuming Newt and Tina have their children in the 1930s or 40s, then their kids would be in their 50s or 60s by the time Harry is at Hogwarts, and Mrs. Figg seems to fit pretty neatly into that age range. Then there's her name, Mrs. Figg. The Mrs. rather than Miss suggests three possibilities. Either she is currently married, she's divorced and kept the name, or she's widowed. So, where are you, Mr. Figg? Well, I somehow doubt they're still currently married, as we never hear about him at all, and I guess it's possible they're divorced, but my money is that he's as dead as a Hufflepuff at the end of the Triwizard Tournament.
No! Mrs. Figg.
Oh, I thought I couldn't sneak it in, did ya? I'm sorry. I'm not! Consider this. When Dumbledore tells Sirius to go get the old crowd, he calls her Arabella Figg, but Sirius has been in prison for most of the time since the First War, so if her name had changed since then, he wouldn't know who Dumbledore was talking about. Sorry, I remembered an Arabella Scamander, but who? But that means she was married before or during the First Wizarding War, and we know Mrs. Figg is part of the Order of the Phoenix, which likely means that her husband was too, and, you know, not for nothing, but like the mortality rate wasn't super great for those guys. And personally, I would also bet that he was a wizard himself, and that the breeding of the half Kneazles symbolically represents him, with her being the non-magic half and him being the magic half. But I hear you, like, is that alone enough to connect Newt to Mrs. Figg? Like, just the fact that they both have Kneazles? Well, maybe not. But don't worry, there is more, although we've actually already touched on some of it. But I'll say it again, Mrs. Figg is in the Order of the Phoenix. She works for Dumbledore just like Newt did. I mean, how does a squib get on the inside of the most secret wizard organization on Earth? By having connections. Yeah, that's right. Mrs. Figg is a Nepo baby. / hero. Thank you very much. No, it's more likely she just wanted to contribute to the cause, like her father did, and she has a lot more in common with Newt than you might realize. Obviously, she's good with beasts, or at least Kneazles, but also is definitely considered a bit of an outsider, even though she's a part of the wizarding world. Because Newt, despite his many talents, feels like he doesn't fit in with the other students at Hogwarts, which is what he and Lita end up bonding over. And just from like a story writing perspective, narratively, Newt and Tina having a squib just feels right. Their entire love story is about overcoming their own lack of confidence, their own awkwardness, while at the same time being unable to understand why the other one can't see how great they are. They see and bring out the greatness in each other, despite the faults they see in themselves. And in the wizarding world, squibs are definitely, and wrongly, I might add, looked down upon.
You blithering idiot.
But Newt and Tina are the kind of parents who would never let little Arabella ever feel she was at all unworthy just because she didn't have magic. Newt is the one who takes care of all the things nobody takes the time to understand. His entire arc is set up for him to have a squib child. But here's where it gets really, really fun, because it ties in amazingly with another popular fan theory that Crookshanks used to belong to the Potters. We actually have a whole video about it, but here's the short version. In her letter to Sirius, Lily mentions that they have a cat, but we never find out what happens to the cat after Voldemort's attack. But that in Prisoner, when Hermione gets Crookshanks, the shop owner says he's been there for a very long time, and the 12 years in between those 2 points would definitely count as a long time.
I did my waiting! 12 years of it!
Plus, as we mentioned, Crookshanks is a half Kneazle, just like what Mrs. Figg, the Order of the Phoenix friend of the Potters, breeds. Crookshanks also immediately hates Peter but loves Sirius, which would make sense if he knew them ahead of time and knew who the real friend and the real betrayer was. And if both of these stories are true, it creates a really fun through line from Newt to Harry, because one of Newt's own Kneazles would have been the great-great-great-grandparent or whatever of the cat Harry's parents would eventually own. Also, small little bonus theory if you want to know where the name Crookshanks came from. It's described as a ginger cat with bowed legs, right? Well, when you first meet Mundungus Fletcher, he is described as having a ginger beard and bowed legs, but he would have been a member of the Order of the Phoenix as well. So what I think happened is Mrs. Figg had Crookshanks, she gives him to the Potters, and they're like, oh my god, he looks like Mundungus the Crook. So they name him Crookshanks. Boom. Wait, Figg? Newtons. You guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. Don't forget to leave a like on it if you haven't already, and subscribe so you don't miss any future Harry Potter action from us. If you want to see more about how Luna is a maledictus and slowly turning into a wolf, like for real, check out this video right here. But otherwise, until next time, Ben, I will see you